Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Dr. Cloud Show. It's good to be with y'all. It is a Tuesday afternoon here in sunny Southern California. And I want to welcome you all to join me here on my patio as we talk about life, as we always do on the show. You know what I want for you guys? I want you to reach deep inside and find those gifts and passions and what you do well, and be able to not just fantasize about that, but figure out a path to bring those dreams to fruition. And we talk about that on this show. How do goals really work? How do people get there? What's the science behind that? What does the research show? Are there ways that work and ways that don't? Do you know there's no such thing as an ungifted person? I want you to think about this for a second. We always talk about a little bit about a topic of interest here on the beginning while y'all are calling in at 844-940-2774, by the way. I want you to think about this as we talk about this why sometimes would anyone feel like they can't accomplish something? They can't accomplish a goal, or they can't do something fruitful that has meaning. When you think about it, there is no such thing as an untalented or ungifted human. I mean, part of the human design is that we're designed with abilities that are different than each other. Thank God they're different. I mean, think about that. One of the things that God did on this earth was he put a whole army out here called humans and said, there's a lot of crap to be done, guys. You got stuff to do. And I'm going to make some of you, I was reading about the construction of the temple back in Exodus the other day. And it says that God gifted the different people with skills and abilities, and he actually put those skills and abilities into them so they could build this thing. And even down to the embroiderers and the ones that made the tunics and the clothing and all of that, and the bricks and all of this stuff. God has gifted people with different abilities, and some people are techies. I mean, I got a problem. I can figure it out for a minute, but then I got to call somebody, right? I'm not an extreme techie. Don't ask me to do much handy around the house. I mean, some stuff, but if you want something fixed, I got to Google it, right? But when it comes to kind of life issues and some of the things that we deal with on this program, I feel comfortable with that, and I've pursued that my whole life, and that's working okay. But there are other areas you don't want to call me in, but guess what? We can call somebody, because each person's created with that little set of chips inside of you that God put inside of you. There's artists, there's engineers, there's healers and doctors, there's scientists, there's creatives, there's people that can make stuff grow. I mean, you look around my backyard, pretty much green. If I were in charge of it, it wouldn't be green, it'd be brown. But I want you to think about this. That's inside of you. Now, a couple of things happen. Sometimes there will be pressures on you to be someone other than what that thing is. I remember, it's one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. Got a friend who had a friend. He actually passed away a number of years ago, young. But he was a famous football player. A bunch of you football fans would know his name. And we played a lot of golf together. And one day he called me and said, mind if my son comes and plays with us? And I said, sure, bring him. And I said, how old is he? And he said, I think it was like 15 or so. I said, great, I'd love to meet him. So I am expecting, this guy was a monster, giant Hulk of a guy, my friend. the football player. And I'm expecting Hulk Jr. to show up, football player, athlete. And this skinny little nerdy kid shows up. Actually, wasn't, he's sort of tall, but he was skinny and nerdy, wouldn't have a muscle on him if you look for it. I mean, so different than his dad. And I'm going, wow, that's different. Anyway, we tee off. We walk down the first fairway. And I said, so what do you tell me about yourself? And his dad, the star football player, his face lit up and he goes, tell him about what you're into. Tell him your big project now. And you could see this dad was so excited about what his kid was doing. I said, what are you doing? He said, well, I'm really into music and theater. And we're producing and he went into this thing about his theater work and all of this. This gets to me. And to see his dad's like joy and how excited he was because his son was using his talents and his gifts. And to see this football player, Hulk, Rambo dad, excited about this musician, theater kid. That's how God is. He knows he's made each one of us with different interests and all that. It doesn't have to be vocational. It can be in your hobbies or whatever. But sometimes you'll get talked out of being yourself, because somebody doesn't think it's cool. A parent or grandparent or somebody in your neighborhood or the bullies around you or your siblings or whatever. There's a verse in the book of Romans. It says, about finding God's will for your work and yourself and your life. And it says, don't be conformed to the patterns of this world. It goes on to talk about finding your own gift. So don't listen to outside voices. That's one thing that happens. Another thing that happens is negative, critical voices inside that say you're going to fail. You can never do it. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You don't have the money. You don't have the resources. All of that's old stuff anyway. And the world's changed. And now there's not a market for this. So why don't you get a real job or do something practical? Because if you do that, then that's just silly. And, your father says that you ought to do this or, what, if you do that, then what a bunch of noise can be in your head about maybe you want to go take a class. Maybe you want to go explore something. Who cares what that voice inside is saying? Go online and research it. Take a step. Go watch somebody who does it. Find out what the real limits are versus what some voice in your head, negativity says. So anyway, just want to start out by saying that you are cool. You know what, people? You are really, really cool. And I know that because God made you. And he don't make no junk. Remember that? He's put talents and abilities into every human. And a little fingerprint of something extra special in you. Good place. So tell me how I can help you today.
Okay. So I recently just kind of broke off a relationship that I had that started back in November of last year. Me and this girl had dated for about 2 to 2.5 months.
No, hold on. Before we get any further down the road, you said you kind of broke off. Now,
right.
Does that mean like a Band-Aid? You kind of feel it a little bit, and then y'all get back together. Oh, let's talk. Oh, and then they drag the pain on forever, or did you rip it off? Which one are we dealing with?
Well, we were off and on for that period. So we broke up probably 2 times in that period of time within the 2.5 months.
From last November?
Yes. And
can I ask a quick question? I don't want to get off track here.
Absolutely.
But if I just start dating somebody in November, how do I get to a place where there's anything established, defined, deep enough, and committed enough to even call what I'm doing next a breakup? Sounds like y'all leapt into exclusivity pretty quickly.
We did, and that was actually one thing I wanted to touch on was the relationship moved very quickly, very
Sounds
fast.
like it.
And to be quite frank with you, you know, I was kind of going along with it because I've had a desire to have a relationship. You know, I want that. But at the same time, there was just some aspects of it that it felt like red flags to me, where it was just too quick. You know, and
Hold on, stop. The time frame felt like a red flag, or you were seeing things in her that felt like a red flag?
Well, both.
Those are two different things.
Specifically the second, on our second date, we had a fight, and that was a red flag to me because I'd never experienced that before. It was just very passionate from the start.
How do you have a fight on the second date unless you're talking about politics or religion? But go ahead.
Well, there was alcohol involved. And I was not drinking. I don't drink myself, but she was that night. She was drinking, and then it kind of escalated into that out of nowhere. And it was very confusing to me because it was 1 minute, and this is where I want to kind of get to with my question. Basically, in retrospect, I realized there was a lot of gaslighting going on in this relationship, a tremendous amount. And I had no idea what gaslighting was. It was very intense, very quick. So, you know, I've heard the term love bombing, and it seemed like that was what was happening very fast. And I'm a very affectionate person. And, you know, I embraced that because I was like, oh, wow, you know, this is, but there was something inside of me that knew that it was moving at an unhealthy pace. It was too deep, too quick. So after we broke up,
hey, Lincoln, yes,
sir.
You know another word for too deep, too quick?
I want to hear it.
It's a stabbing. It's like a mugging. When you take a knife and go too deep, too quick, that's not what a skilled surgeon trying to get to your heart does. Anyway, so go ahead. Too deep, too quick. Remember that.
Absolutely. And I'm one who opens up a lot of times too fast, and it's something that I'm working on in my life of just being able to guard my heart a little bit better.
Okay, so I think I got a picture. Let's get to a question. So what is the question?
So question is that after we broke up, we remained friends for a couple months. About 2 months ago, would have been at the beginning of March, I continued to see kind of the turmoil even in our friendship, where there was just issues involving us arguing a lot. And we had an argument again, and I finally just ended it and said I needed time away because I felt like I was falling into a depression.
Oh, wow.
And the last time we interacted, I got away from it, and I haven't talked to her in 2 months. And through that time, I got into therapy because I realized there was things that I needed to work on in my life. And I've begun to research.
Got an idea. I just got an idea.
Yes, sir.
Every time somebody does something awesome on this show, I want all the thousands of people out there to go, way to go! Something. Just cheer. High five. Good job, Lincoln. Way to go. Because that way we remind ourselves, you know, it's like the Dave Ramsey debt-free scream. We remind ourselves people do make good steps forward. You know, it's a good thing. So anyway, you went into therapy.
Absolutely.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you so much.
Tell me your question. Tell me your question. We've gotten rid of this confusion in the relationship. You're in therapy. Mm-hmm. So now what's your question?
Mm-hmm. My question is, in a situation such as this, is it wise to establish contact again at some point, or is it best to just keep eyes cut? Yeah.
Why?
Well, that's one thing I've thought about deeply. And to be quite frank with you, my opinion on that is that I think that part of me wanted the relationship, the hope of the relationship still to be alive, because there were good times, but I realized the toxicity.
Okay, stop. What is new or different? What is new or different? Because one of the things I talk about a lot is I wrote a book called Never Go Back. And
Mm-hmm.
basically it's when we have a wake up call and we realize, there's some things that I learned here and I'm never going back to the old way of what I was doing. Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And so one of the principles there is if you're in a bad relationship and you keep going, and they say, I can't take this anymore, stop, and you
Mm-hmm.
do what you did, then you move on, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
then you get over here and you go, oh, I miss her. Oh, there were so many good things. And what you have is you have this thing called complicated, you know, bereavement where you're idealizing the good and not remembering the bad. And you're saying, I still have this hope. Well, here's
Mm-hmm.
the question at that point. What has changed that's going to make the future any different than the past? Now, if she came to you and said, oh my gosh, Lincoln, you were such a wake up call for me. I realized I was difficult. I drank too much and I would get hostile, and that sent me into therapy and recovery. And now I'm really, really learning and I'm changing in these ways. And I want to make amends for all the ways in which I hurt you. And can we talk? Well, that gives
Mm-hmm.
me a reason. That gives me a reason to have hope, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So what has
Yeah.
happened that's new and different other than you miss her?
Well, you got it right there. There really hasn't been anything.
Okay,
And
well then let's do a little grieving. And
mm-hmm.
when you think about her, I want you to grieve not the one that you wish she were, because you're going to really miss the good parts, but there's no such
Mm-hmm.
thing as her without all of her parts yet.
Absolutely.
So when you're grieving, I want you to say, "Oh, I really miss the screaming arguments and the substance abuse and the breakup and the getting. Oh, I long for that chaos." So you've got to include that in your grief,
Mm-hmm.
or you're grieving a
Absolutely.
fantasy.
Yes.
Does that
And
help?
one thing, oh, absolutely. And I just wanted to add one thing. I joined your boundaries.me, and
Hmm.
I'm so greatly appreciative of everything that you've put on there. And
Oh, thank you,
I've
man.
really been studying about grieving and learning how to do that, because I just didn't understand that's what was really going on, because I really dealt with depression after this breakup like
Oh,
no other breakup I've had.
well, I bet
And I
it
just want
probably
to say
tapped
thank you
into
so
some
much.
kind of previous loss that you've had or something like that. But that's why you're in
Mm-hmm.
therapy, and that's good. But hey, you get two high fives today, man. You had this wake up call, you go to therapy, and you joined boundaries.me, where you're on a growth path. It's going to be better. Way to go.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Thanks for
much, sir. I
thanks
really,
for your
really
call.
appreciate it.
Thanks for your
Thank
call,
you.
and enjoy all the good people back there in Franklin, Tennessee. What a great place. Luke, how are you? And welcome to the program.
I'm not doing so well. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
So my my issue is I've been trying to date and trying to get out and meet people, and I just really not had a lot of success at all. And I don't really like dating. It's something I really loathe. Whenever I do go on a date, I really loathe it. Loathe it.
You loathe
And
it?
so yes, I hate it. I really hate
Okay,
it.
let me interrupt for 1 second. Now, when you talk about he hadn't been having much success, are you talking about like during the pandemic? I mean, it's hard to figure it out then, but are you talking about, is this a long-term issue? Is this
Yeah,
a
over years.
recently for
No, this is over
years?
years.
Okay.
Yes,
And how old are you?
37. Or I'll be
37.
37 next month.
Okay. Have you ever been in any kind of serious relationship?
Yes. One for my longest one is about 2.5 years.
2.5 years. And how long ago was that?
Was about 9 years ago.
Wow, 9 years ago. Did that one come
Yes.
about as a result of dating?
Well, I wasn't a Christian then, so it wasn't a very moral relationship. And so,
but how did you
once I
find
became a Christian, we just, I think we met at a wedding.
Met at a wedding, kind of dating. That's what dating is. Okay. All right. So 9 years.
Yeah. Well, that was
and you loathe it.
I've had other dates. Yes, I loathe it.
So tell me about the loathing. That's a strong word, Luke.
Yes. I don't enjoy. I don't enjoy going on dates. I typically don't relate very well to women. I don't I'm not particularly interested in what they like to talk about. And I really have been praying to God that he would give me the gift of singleness. And it hasn't happened yet. I still have a very strong desire for marriage. But I was hoping you can give me some practical tips. Like what are some things I can do? Maybe some exercises to desire marriage less.
Okay. Well, you said you actually desire marriage, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to.
Now tell me I love this. It's because you desire marriage, but you don't like talking to a woman. Am I understanding that right?
No,
so,
not quite. Dude,
that's what
not
you
that
said. Come on, you got to tell me what that means. I want to be married and I want to spend the rest of my life with a woman, but I just don't like talking to women. I want to be locked up in the house with women. Tell me how this works.
No, typically I don't relate very well to women. There are a few women that I relate to semi well, and
why? Now, why do you relate to what?
They're usually the type of women who don't get along with other women.
They join you in the boys club, right? So, okay.
Yeah.
So why don't you find one of them? Where do they gather?
It's just not.
Oh, look,
just here and there.
Please move to LA. And I just want to be your wingman. I want to go out on these, dates and watch how this works. So what do you mean that they don't relate well to women?
Well, okay, so this is my problem. I don't relate well to women. I'm not really typically interested in the things that they want to talk about.
But like what?
And the ones,
Like what?
Television, movies, reality TV. I'm not big on social media.
Okay, so let me hit pause for a second. Okay, because I know one thing that's going on with you. You said you want some tips. Okay, I think there are some fences in your head, like you're fenced in to a little room that doesn't look very good, right? And if you walk through this gate into this fence of with women, if I go and be with a woman, I got to talk about a bunch of crap I don't want to talk about, right? Because that's what women want to talk about. Okay, I can name. I mean, literally, some of my very best friends are women, long-term friends, deep friendships. And I can't name one of them that we talk about reality TV shows or TV shows or anything like that. I mean, I can name a few of them that we talk about really, really technical business stuff. I can name others. We talk about deep spiritual stuff. Others we talk about the political landscape. And so I want, there's something that's happened in your experience of where you're a little limited as to what a woman is. If you go to Proverbs 31 for a moment, if you look at what, it says, the really cool wife, she's buying and selling real estate. She's got a textile business. She's running a complicated, it looks like, life with kids and a husband and a bunch of other stuff. She's in all these other business endeavors. And I just want you to be around some cool women. So how are we going to get you to learn that maybe women are cooler than you might know they are? Is that a possibility?
I don't deny that they're cool. And I don't deny that there's some great, amazing women. I just haven't run into very many, and
I know.
I just figured it'd be easier. Yeah, it'd be easier, like Paul said, to live a single life.
Well, you can do that. You can do that.
Yeah. Well, that's my question: is how do I not desire marriage? How do I put that away, or what's some exercise I can do so I don't desire it?
One way to not desire it is to just meditate on how awful it's going to be to be locked up with somebody that only talks about reality TV. That'll cure your marriage right there. Oh, gosh. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know how you, if you're okay, look, let me put it like this. I would go the other direction. All right. Here's what I would do. Because I don't think everybody's got to be married. Right. In fact, I didn't get married till well into my 30s. And I was thinking, I'm just not, I don't want to get married until somebody comes along that really is going to screw up my great life. I mean, I was really happy being single, but I kind of wanted to be married at some point, but not just to get married. It's about finding a person that you want to, to have all of married life with. And so here's what I would want you to do. Here's the first step, I think. I want you to think about when you say you have this desire to be married. I want you to go before God and a few people that you can really talk to and dissect that and say, what is it? Why can't I just give this thing up? What is it about marriage that I think that I would want? All right. Now, I don't know that these are the answers, Luke, but it's going to be, I'll give you examples of what I'm talking about. It might be because I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone in the universe. All right. Great. Write that down. There are a lot of single people never experience aloneness because they've built a community of really close friends. They're in a support group. They're in a group that serve together. They go serve the poor, or they have missions, or they have hobby clubs, or this, that, and the other. They've got, support system emotionally. So you don't have to have marriage to not be alone. Okay. There's like a bunch of stuff like this. I want you to find out. And then you look at those things and you go, what, I can have all those needs met. I don't have to get married. And that may be the next step, but I really want you to, I would love to have you in a therapy group, man. I wish I could put you in a group with some men and women and get at this, whatever it is. I want you to find out, you're kind of missing half the human race here. It's got a lot of really cool things to offer. I would want you to get into some experiences and go as a detective, like an investigative reporter, and go put yourself in some group or situations with the curiosity of, why do people like women? What is it about being around women? Why would anybody want to be? And just go study the topic experientially. Would you do that for me?
Yeah.
And then
I don't want to give the impression.
Go ahead.
I don't want to give the impression that I think women are horrible or creatures or anything. I'm not saying that at all. I don't
think you're saying that at all. I just think you're saying you don't get much out of them.
No, I just don't relate very well to them. I mean, I'm cordial. I'm a nice guy. We don't talk about deep theological issues or anything like that.
Right. And so I want you to explore why, because lots of people in their life do talk about and explore great issues with women and really enjoy that. So I want you to go join it. Go join a book club or something that's short term, 6 or 8 weeks, or a Bible study, or go to an alpha program where there's some women, or go to, some hobby club or something, just as an experiment where they're going to talk about something besides, Housewives of Beverly Hills or something, right? So where there's some realistic topic there and experiences. And then I want you to do one more thing, and I got to go. The other thing I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, is there is there somewhere where you've been hurt by a woman or by women, and that kind of needs to be talked about and worked through? Because there's, you're a cool guy, you laugh easily, I enjoy talking to you, and to not relate well around them, it might be that you've been hurt somewhere and have some women that were hard to relate to, and that needs to be healed and get in some settings where you can learn to do that. If you came to me, what first question I would ask is, might it be better for you to see a woman therapist? That might be a good thing to do. Like, go find a woman therapist and say, okay, I don't like talking to women, so I'm going to put myself in a situation where I get to do that. Okay, Luke, you get caller of the day, man. I love. I just love how open you are about this. I love how you want to explore it, and I want you to go take that step. Okay, this is the Dr. Cloud Show, where we talk about all sorts of life, and Luke has shown us that sometimes, we can have conflicts inside. We can want something. He says he wants marriage, but he really doesn't like the idea of talking to women. And anyway, conflicts. Sometimes we have to unravel those. We have to hear ourselves talk and say, I want this, but I don't want this. And well, we have incompatible wishes. And so what's at the source of incompatible wishes? A lot of times that keeps us stuck. And if we can unravel our incompatible wishes, oh my gosh, do universes open up? Universes open up when we get the conflict out of incompatible wishes. For example, I give you a good one that I've been sharing recently. I told you yesterday, I finally got my surgery scheduled, though. We're opening back up, and I'm going to be able to, I haven't been able to walk basically from almost really going on close to a year. Because I had incompatible wishes. I wanted to be able to walk, and then I didn't want to go through a knee replacement. So incompatible wishes, we got to resolve those. So many times we find ourselves in a bind because we want a path, for example, of, I don't want to deal with that, and we want a path that requires us to deal with that. We got to resolve that conflict. Claire, how are you?
Yes, I'm here. I'm good. Love your work and have followed you for years, and I'm just so excited about getting your input on this particular issue.
Well, you got it. Thank you. How can I help?
Okay.
I love your accent. I live out here in Beverly Hills where all these people don't even speak English. And I love it when somebody calls in from the South. That's good.
Well, you got to love the South.
They don't speak English. They speak what my daddy used to call it. They've got one of those TV accents, which means they speak like a normal person. They're not Southern, right? It's not English.
Right.
So tell me how I can help you.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you my question, and then you can ask me for information you feel like you need. How do we encourage a 24-year-old single, successful, independent daughter who works out of state but is quarantining with us to exercise, eat healthy, and lose back down to a healthy weight from a place of love and affirmation instead of judgment and criticism?
Okay, you said she lives in another state and she's successful in working and thriving in every area of life other than her weight?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's pretty good, right?
Yes. I mean, this is something, absolutely. I mean, and I have a great relationship with her in every area except her weight, which she has battled really since she was a teenager. But she's never been really more than 20 pounds overweight. She stayed within 10 to 20 pounds until this last year. And she started a new job, which she loves, but it's demanding. And she's really on the introverted side. She doesn't like to exercise very much. And she's a big time foodie. So she just loves food. And growing up, when my husband and I would try to encourage, we live healthy lifestyles and are passionate about fitness and exercise and eating healthy and just being good stewards of what God has entrusted to us. With her, that came across as more judgmental and critical, and that we didn't accept her for who she was. But that's
when she was growing up or now? When she was growing up or now?
Well, since she was a teenager, we've always encouraged her to exercise and eat healthy. And because my husband is very driven and passionate and just really into fitness, and I think because of his passion, and he does this with friends and other family members, he doesn't single her out at all, but he's always advocating for people making healthy choices and taking responsibility for their health. And he's a healthcare provider himself.
My question though was she said you said she feels like judged or whatever, and I asked, is that like more now, or that was since she's been a teenager?
I think since she's been a teenager, when it comes to her weight.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you another question. Quick question. You said earlier you have a good relationship with her in all areas except about her weight. Do you understand that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, why in the world would her weight affect not having a good relationship? I'm going to pinpoint that sentence for a moment, because somehow your head, the weight changes the relationship in some way.
No, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, we have a good relationship, and yes, and a couple of years ago, she was probably 50 pounds overweight, and she basically just said, I want you to back off of encouraging me to eat healthy and exercise. I am happy with the way I look.
Great. So when was that? When was that?
A couple of years ago. And since then, I have not brought it up. I mean, when I watch her eat crazy unhealthy stuff, when I watch her pack on the weight, not exercise,
so you haven't brought
I don't say a word.
So is that changed? Do you still not say a word?
Right. That's what I'm saying. She's been quarantining with us, so it's like I'm with her every day. Normally she lives out of state. I see her holidays.
No, I understand that, but you're not saying a word still?
No.
There have been no discussions from you?
No.
Neither your husband.
I don't bring it up.
Your husband?
Neither my husband.
Oh,
no,
okay.
We don't bring it up at all.
All right. And does she ever talk about her weight or wanting to do anything different, or
no.
It bothers her or anything? No?
No, she does not.
Okay. All right. Okay. So I don't think you're going to like what I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Guess what it is?
That this is her life and her responsibility, and I'm going to have to back off and just let her deal with it, because I can't make somebody or encourage somebody to own something that they're just not going to own.
Yes. Now, that's the first thing I was going to say. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Are we together so far? You still love me? You agree with me there?
Yes. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. It's just,
well, if you wait, I'm totally, whoa. I am an open and flexible person. So I am willing to change that opinion. If you can tell me, because what you said, I agree with, that you can't make her do this. But if you can convince me that you can, then I'm totally willing to change. But how are you going to do that?
Well, the reason it's an issue for me is because when I was growing up as a teenager.
Whoa, hold on. No, stop for a second. That's not what I'm asking you. What I'm asking you is, do you know, I mean, it seems like you have tried what y'all have tried. You've talked about this, your husband's encouraging, you've talked about it in the past, all the way to the point where she said, stop. Okay.
Right.
Now, now what I'm saying is, have you accepted that reality? Do you agree with me that that's not going to work? Because if you don't, then you got another card to play that I don't know about.
No, I mean, I think that's why I'm calling, is because I've just really come to accept that that's the way she wants it, and I've got to respect that. But it's a daily frustration for me to see her get.
Okay. Now I'm going to go to the second thing I was going to say, which is this. Okay. Can you, this is where I said you might not like this, but I want you to. Okay.
Okay.
Will you sign off with me on, agree with? Would you agree that now your real issue of the person that you've got to get to change is not her? It's internally, it's you. Because you're in conflict, okay? You're so wanting her to get with it. I want her to get with it. I don't want her 50 pounds overweight either. I don't want me and my 15 pounds overweight. Right? That's not good. But it's not that you would desire that for her, but can you internally let go of it so it doesn't change your emotional valence towards her?
Well, I would say,
said another way, can you accept her like she is and let her make that choice and it not change how you feel about her?
Well, let me say this. I don't feel like I love her any differently than any of my other children.
I agree. And I don't think you do either. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that.
I have worked to have the self-control, since she said it was an issue for her that we were always encouraging.
By the way, you do get a gold star. If you haven't said anything in 2 years, you are a rare mother that's able to do that. You do get another gold star for that. So I do think you love her unconditionally, and I think you haven't interfered. What I'm trying,
I mean, she's a great girl.
I know you. I hope my kids at her age are out there working and got a new job and living in another state, thriving, and have and they got this one little area. That's pretty much 9 out of 10, right? So I'm on your team here with all that. I think you've done great. I'm just trying to help you feel better every day when you're walking through the kitchen, looking at her load up the PB&J sandwich.
How do I get rid of internal conflict when that is just who I am? I mean, I'm 59, so how do you get to be 59 and value good health and
I didn't say not to value good health. I said you've got to give up the wish to be able to change her or for her to change. That's all. You just got to surrender that.
Well, I think, but how do you not care about the weight of somebody you love? To me, I
said nothing about not caring. I'm talking about this drive and this impulse to feel like, I've got to get her, or she's got to, I'm saying to lay that down because you're powerless. There's nothing you can do that you haven't already done, right? She's well aware of it. It's her issue.
Yeah.
And so I just want you to love her. I just want you to love her like she is. You know, if you go back to, you know, like Joshua's famous statement, remember the one where he said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that? Do you remember what he said right before then?
No.
We don't hear it very often. Here's what he said. If it's disagreeable to you to serve the Lord, then serve whom you will. But as for me and my house, we're going to do it this way. I want you to begin to put your head around that and try to look at her like, you know what, if it's disagreeable to you to care about weight and all that and health and all that, then you got to do it your way. As for me and my house, this is how we do it. And have a very, very, very uninterrupted emotional stance towards her, and maybe silently praying for her or whatever.
Right. I have been praying about this for 2 years.
That's great. But I would just want you to realize that you're going to have the best relationship with her. And here's the kicker. She is probably going to have the best chance at owning this when you disown it. Because there may be a dynamic here where she's still looking for her freedom and autonomy first. We can't be good till we're free to be bad, right? I just want you to let go.
Right.
You can't have a tug of war if you let go. So let go. All right?
So how do I let go? How do I let go?
Internally, you surrender it. You give it up. Say, it's not my deal. I love her. Let's go play tennis. You know, let's go watch a movie.
Okay. I'm going to pray that God would just help me every time I have that impulse to be grieved about her lifestyle. I mean, not drugs or alcohol, but just eating and exercise, that he would just take that away from me and help me just not have those feelings of internal conflict.
And
thank you very much.
And he will help like that. But we also have a part, like I was talking to the previous caller about grieving and letting go. We have a letting go as well. So there's a your part in it as well. And he will help you and strengthen you to do that. Thank you for your call. How can I help you?
Hi. So my question basically is, well, a little background with me. I have a really close guy friend, and as we've become better friends, some feelings have started to come up. And my question is, how do you manage that?
How long? Hold on. How long have you been friends with him?
Year and a half.
Year and a half?
Ish.
And
yes, but we grew closer this year.
Casual friends, you see him once every couple of months, or daily friend, what kind of mix is in there?
Every couple of weeks in college, kind of a friend group is where we met.
And how so you've been out of college now just a little while?
I just graduated.
Okay. Where'd you graduate from over in South Carolina?
Clemson University.
Go Tigers! My daughter's
Go Tigers.
So I'm a big fan.
Awesome.
How about that? Okay, so you've been friends. Now feelings are coming up, and the feelings are coming up, I hope, for good reasons, right? You're finding there's you like him. You're seeing some qualities you didn't know were there. You enjoy spending time with them. There's some kind of chemistry that you feel, all that.
Yes, I guess the catch is that they're not really wanted. They just kind of came up. It wasn't, that's kind of the catch there.
Wanted by whom?
Me, because I was like, oh, we're just friends. And then these feelings come up. I'm like, oh my gosh, it wasn't We were just being friends, and then it came up.
This invader that's coming into my heart and my head. What's it doing? No, get away! Don't want those feelings. Right. Now, why don't you want them? Generally, those are pleasurable feelings if they're reciprocated. So why don't you want them? Have you been hurt before? You're afraid to take the next step, or you don't want to screw up a good friendship, or why don't you want them?
Well, I don't want to screw up the friendship, but the main reason is I'm not looking to pursue that with him because he's not following. He says he's a Christian, but he's not. We're not in the same place spiritually. I think he has some growing to do, so I just don't even want to go there.
Oh, okay. So if you're firm on that you don't want to go there, then you don't go there, and you just keep hanging out and enjoying the feelings. You can have feelings that somebody's goodness, is going to bring about in you without necessarily pursuing them or acting on them. But I got a question. Is he, do you think he's sharing these same feelings?
That's why I don't know either. And that's why I also wasn't going to go there because I don't know.
Do you have any indication that he might be? Does he get kind of flirty or he?
Not real. I don't know.
Has he stood under your window at night, and tossed pebbles up there? Has he?
No.
Hadn't done that.
No.
Okay. So he's not doing anything that you would interpret as anything that's not like a friend, right?
Right, like super intentional. I'd be like,
Okay, so you would kind of almost have to say, he hasn't given any indication. So as far as I know, he's just still friends like we always were.
Yes, and I guess my issue is I am experiencing the anxiety of, I have these feelings. Now I'm overthinking everything I say and do, and that's the stress of it all. I don't feel free to enjoy the friendship at all.
Oh, I'm loving this. This is so awesome. Do you know what you just described to me? You just described this incredibly safe playground boot camp training experience. Now think about this. Here's what you've just said. Okay. You've just said that you got this guy that you interact with, and he kind of gets you off center a little bit, right? Oh, I like him. I want him to like me. Am I on my best? Am I smart enough today? Am I cute enough today? Am I this enough? Oh no, right? Now, what that tells you is this, that there's a growth step that it's time for you to make, I think. And that is that there's a part of you that likes somebody, right? And idealizes them in some way. He gets above the rest, right? He kind of, stands out in the crowd to you. That when you start to feel that, then you start to, because of the anxiety, start to diminish being yourself, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Okay. Exactly. I want you to get over that. So when the right guy comes along, which generates all those feelings, and by the way, guys are kind of like buses. There's a new one every 15 minutes. So don't worry about that. He's the only one. Okay. But somebody's going to come along, right? And he's going to pique your interest. And I don't want you becoming less of yourself with him. I want you going, oh, I like this guy. I'm going after him in some way, right? You're going to be all of yourself, because then he's going to get to see all of you, and you're going to be much more attractive to him. So what you've got now is, you've already said you're not going to go further with this guy because you don't, now I want you to feel the power in this. There's something about him that doesn't measure up to you. That's not a judgment. It's just, you've got criteria in your life, and he's got checking a lot of the boxes, but you're not going to be unequally yoked in your faith. You want somebody who's growing like you. Okay. So you're not going to go there. right? So now you're safe. This is a safe playground. Keep interacting with him. And the chief goal here is continue to just practice being yourself and don't worry about it. And I just want you to learn to be comfortable around somebody you're attracted to is the bottom line. Okay. Now, if, and I want you to like really do that. Like, if you're having a goofy thought that you would say to one of your best friends, I just want you to do it. I want you to climb in your own skin and just be all of yourself. And so the anxiety will begin to diminish. All right. Now here's the other thing. Don't get your heart hurt. I mean, if being around him and this, that, and the others, I've seen situations where it just gets too painful and diminishes life and all that. So, don't do that. Or, and I'm going to give you option B, and then I got to talk to some other callers. And I wish we could send a camera crew out there to follow you around and watch how you do this.
Oh my gosh.
This would be I might send my daughter to find you there in Clemson.
Yes.
Here's option C. You could say to him, we've been friends a long time. Have you ever thought about dating? I mean, I'm not asking to date. I'm just curious. Has it ever popped in your head? And have a conversation. And if he says no, say, oh, I kind of wonder, because we do connect a lot and we have fun and it's just curious that I just always wonder why don't we ever think about that? Maybe I'm not your type or, whatever. Just explore the conversation. Now, here's why I say that, because if he goes, well, yeah, actually I have, I've just kind of been scared to ask you or didn't want to screw up the friendship or whatever. Then you have a conversation. And then here's why I'm saying all this. And then you could say, well, I think you'd be fun to date, but have you ever noticed how we're on kind of different spiritual paths? So I don't really know if it would go. I don't think you could go anywhere. I'm not judging you, but some people are really into sports and other people hate sports and they don't do well together if it's going to be an issue. But I'm really into my faith and growing, and it seems like you're on a different path. But I'd love to know more about how you look at your faith, and you get in those conversations. So I think you've got a world of fun playground here to hang out in. Yeah. Make sure, though, I want you go read my book, How to Get a Date Worth Keeping, and I want you making sure you're hanging out with and becoming friends and interacting with and going out with a lot of other guys, because that's going to keep him from having too much power. Okay?
Okay.
I'm so glad you called.
Thank you.
Fun thing to work on. Okay, this is the Dr. Cloud Show. I just, I love all of our callers. We have great calls, but lately we've got so many fun dating calls, because dating, as you know, I've written a couple of books on it, because it's a real issue out there. But it can be such an incredible growth experience and learning what lots of different kinds of people are like and what you're like. See, Hannah's just learned something. She's learned with this guy that when she starts to like somebody, she starts to get anxious and becomes less of herself. Do you know, and you can read the book, that's one of the things I talk about in the book, that a lot of times, have you, picture this, how many times have you known a group of friends, men or women, small group, and they're all, they're like a little squad, and there's one of them that just, they all love, and this person's incredible, but for some reason they never get asked out, or they never, like nothing ever happens, and everybody else loves it, going, you would be a perfect catch, and all this kind of stuff. Well, that's one of the areas I researched when I wrote this book. And what you find is when you follow them out there, which we did, they're different when they meet somebody that they kind of might be interested in. They're different than they are when they're with their squad. They kind of shut down. There's less of their personality that comes out. Said in another way, they're not showing up with the parts of them that would attract somebody, even though they have all of those parts. And so what we got to do sometimes is learn to fill up your skin. I mean, you've got this you, but if your parts of you are getting diminished and hidden down here in this wee little corner of your brain, and you don't ever let that personality come out, why is anybody going to want to go out with you? Not because you're not wonderful, but because they never saw that you were wonderful, because the anxiety was diminishing your relational interaction patterns. And sometimes that happens where somebody becomes too passive. So who's going to be attracted to a passive person? A control freak. A control freak's not going to be attracted to somebody that has good boundaries. They don't want to hear no. So when we start adapting who we are to who someone else is, then we cease to become ourselves. And even if it, God forbid, the relationship would work, that's not going to work, because at some point, this other person's going to show up. You're going to go, hi, I was hiding. I do have an opinion, and control freak's not going to like that. Or the detached person's not going to like that all of a sudden, now you really do have needs. See, whenever we become someone else than who we are to make something work, it is not sustainable. We can do that for a short term, and we have to do that for short term sometimes. Okay? Sometimes extended family, companies that do this, businesses, certain customers or whatever. As they used to say in the South where I grew up, you got to grin like a mule eating briars. We changed those like this. Well, you're you're putting on that smile, and maybe it's not your favorite place to be, but you can play a role for a purpose for a while for a good reason. But when that role becomes not a moment, I mean, if you're in a bad mood and you got to go serve customers, yeah, you got to put on the mask. You got to be happy to help people that day. But if you can't go home and be sick after the day's over, then you're not going to get well either. So people do this in careers. Their family wants them to be a certain thing. So they try to deny for so long what they really want to be doing to please Uncle Harry or mom or grandma or somebody. That's not who they are. And all I'm saying is you can't be someone else in a sustainable way long term. Now, that doesn't mean that all of ourselves is something we would want to be. That's the other side of the equation. I mean, you hear, some people will, they'll get a crush on somebody. I can't deny myself. I can't deny my feelings. And they go, act out and jettison their families or whatever. So, I don't mean you got to go live and follow all of your passions and all of your dreams. Some of them are sick. But in the fundamental aspects of who you are, be who you are. It's who God made you to be. That's what you want somebody to know and to love, who you really are. Well, thank you, guys. And then a reminder, if you want to go deeper and you want to know more, and you want to join me in a growth path in these areas, then go to boundaries.me, boundaries.me, and check it out. Okay. God bless you guys, and have a very good holiday as we remember some really good people.